I'm 32-year-old Rachel Morgan, and me spouse Kevin passed away last Tuesday due to unexpected cardiac attack. The shock is still has not faded. When I dialed my parents, crying hysterically, we're celebrating Sophia's birthday, Mom added. Birthday today. Is it possible for this to wait till tomorrow? My daughter Lily, who is 8 years old, and I spent that evening sitting by myself, holding each. Suddenly our world fell apart. I never thought my family would desert us in our darkest moment. However, their subsequent actions was terrible. If you've ever experienced family betrayal when you needed the most importantly, tell me where you are viewing from and signing up to participations who are aware of this affairing. I met Kevin during our Northwestern University sophomore year college. I was having trouble getting through economy, and his charisma teaching assistant who remained after class to aid in my comprehension of depreciation curves. First, he was patient, I fell in love with, and soon after, his contagious chuckle and the manner in which his corners of his eyes wrinkled when he grinned. During our time together in college, Hessig stood on the day of graduation, concealing, daring in the case of my diploma. At age 23, we got married young and ignored friends' cautions, saying we should live life to the fullest before getting married. But my existence revolved around Kevin. He was the one I desired to have every experience with. Following his MBA completion, Kevin obtained employment with a prominent banking Chicago-based advising firm. He put in his way up swiftly, captivating customers with his integrity and sincere concern for their financial health. He wasn't simply adept at math, he was skilled at individuals. That combination caused him to standing at his work. We spent 5 amazing years together in the past, choosing to try for a child. What we believed to be a simple try ended up being heartbreaking for 3 years, 2 miscarriages, numerous medical absence, as well as 1 unsuccessful attempt at after IVF. We were emotionally spent and exhausted financially. We began talking about adoption when I suddenly got Lily pregnant. The pregnancy is challenging. I spent the time on bed rest, last 2 months, and Kevin was employed at home to look after me. He would bring me having breakfast in bed while massaging my enlarged feet and read aloud from pregnant books to our unborn daughter and I. When Lily eventually showed up, Kevin sobbed more, compared to me, clutching her small body like she was made of, against his chest, glass. For 8 lovely years, we were the family. I have always envisioned having Lily's soccer squad be coached by Kevin even though they have no knowledge of soccer. He watched YouTube and learned alongside her, tutorials at night following her visit to. He never skipped a class function or a visit to the doctor. His calendar was full of reminders of Lily's activities that are prioritized by color. There were indications that that we both disregarded. Occasionally I blamed stress for the chest issues. He attributed his shortness of breath to being out of character. The physician stated that he is somewhat raised. The man's blood pressure was normal, nearing 40 and working under a lot of pressure. Take an aspirin, work out, and cut back on return to sodium. We followed standard guidance, too nonchalantly. The morning it took place began similarly to any other Tuesday. Kevin created dinosaur-shaped pancakes. As I prepared Lily's lunch, he gave a kiss goodbye to both of us. I'll be home early for the art show at Lily's school and in my way to work. His final remarks to me stated, remember to pick up additional not that maple syrup, the real thing corn syrup, trash. Such a banal conclusion dialogue. At 10:47 in the morning, my phone rang. It was Kevin's assistant, Amanda. She was trembling so much that I could hardly comprehend her. Rachel, Kevin fell apart in the middle of a client meeting. The ambulance has arrived. They are escorting him to Northwestern Memorial. I recall letting my coffee mug fall. The sound of porcelain breaking against tie lappers to reverberate in my mind. I made a call to hourly will be picked up by her neighbor Ellen, school before taking a car to the hospital, exceeding all speed limits. I said Theo the way, negotiating with God. Eni heard frantic murmurs, but it was too late. At 11:23 in the morning, Kevin was declared deceased, minutes prior to my arrival. Huge heart, they said, assault. Nothing might have been completed, they told me, as thaw improved it in some way. Observing Kevin's body was unreal. He appeared to be sleeping, excluding the abnormal. His chest was still, His epidermis was when I touched his face, it was still warm. I continued to hope that he would open his eyes to tell me this was all a smile, awful error. The ensuing horse went by in a haze of phone calls and papers. Phone calls. Decisions were required at the funeral home. Not that I was ready to make. Cremation or burial? What sort of service is it? Did Hitoyu have a favorite suit? Inquiries that felt intractable to respond to when all too wanted to get into bed with my own final time. Husband time. Driving home was the most difficult part, being aware that I needed to inform Lily that her father would never arrive back. How would you describe death to 8 years old? How would you explain to her that the father who prepared dinosaur pancakes was the morning lost forever? Bringing up her father with Lily was the most challenging time in my life. When after school, she got into my car, she realized right away that something wasn't right. Where's Daddy? He said he would visit tonight my art show, she remarked, her backpack tightly gripped in her tiny hands. I stopped and moved to the side of the street. As I was unable to concentrate on driving, I turned to her and grasped her hands, mine. Something terrible happened today, Lily. Daddy became rather ill at work, and his heart stopped beating. Her expression huddled in misunderstanding. Are the physicians able to fix it? Their question shattered naive optimism. Something within me. No, dear. When a person's heart stops beating, the physicians are unable to fix it entirely. Today, Daddy passed away. She gazed at me for what seemed like forever. Her blue eyes that resemble Kevin's, in processing fictional data. Then does that imply that Daddy isn't coming home ever? I nodded, but I couldn't in an attempt to speak over my tears. She released a wail with a non-human voice. It was primordial, a child's unadulterated voice, devastating. She leapt into my embrace, her tiny body trembling with tears. Daddy is what I desire. I would like Mid-Eddie. I was powerless to do anything but, while parked on the road, embrace her and weep with her. Side of the road while everything went on all around us, unaware of our broken world. That night, after I'd at last Lily has fallen asleep in my bed, holding on to Kevin's dirty t-shirt for consolation, the full impact of my loss struck me. I sat with the door closed on the bathroom floor, broke down so Lily wouldn't hear, entirely. Grief's physical toll was so overwhelming, as if it were constantly struck in the chest. I was unable to take a breath. I was unable to think. I required my mum and father. Hands trembling, I dialed my parents. They have 40 years of marriage, have endured losses together for years. They would undoubtedly know how and what to say. To support me at this unfeasible period. On the 5th ring, my mother answered, the sound of music and laughing in the context. Can I give you a call back, Rachel? It is currently Sophia's birthday. Dinner. I gasped out, Mom, hardly able to use my tears to create words. Kevin passed away this morning. He suffered a heart attack. At the office. He is no longer there. A pause occurred, and I overheard her remark, as she covered the phone, things to another person. When she back, her tone was a little more melancholy, yet still preoccupied. Oh my God, that's awful. Are you certain? There might have been an error. I observed his mum body. No error exists. The reality needed to persuade my own mother. I felt that my husband was indeed dead, like an additional trauma on top of all the others otherwise. This is a bit of a shock, but we're in the midst of Sophia's, my love, celebration of a 40th birthday. Everybody's in this place. The caterers are here. Could you manage this evening, and we'll stop by when everything calms down tomorrow? I couldn't comprehend what I was listening to. My priority was given to the sister's birthday celebration, over the passing of her son-in-law, over her the cute sorrow. My dad picked up the phone. Next. This is terrible news, Rachel. Belong to Kevin. Is your life insurance coverage current? Yauk, no. You ought to give the business a call first. Something tomorrow. No. I'm coming right now. Over. Not how we can assist, but inquiry regarding life insurance. While my body of the husband was hardly cold. I am unable to. I think this is your answer, I said. I spoke in a hollow voice. My hubby passed away recently. Lily's father passed away. Additionally, you're at a now, Rachel, have a party. My dad stated in that patronizing tone he had during my early life. Sophia has been organizing this milestone birthday for several months. Everybody took a leave of absence to attend. We are unable to simply leave. Be sensible, reasonable. As though sorrow came after any principles of reason. I forgot I called, remarked before hanging up. In a matter of minutes, there were so many text messages on the phone from companions who somehow overheard the news. Brian, Kevin's roommate from college, my Jennifer, my coworker, even my former hightailer, a school friend I hadn't spoken to for years, each one preventing expressing sympathy and asking what they might do to assist. Others displayed more empathy. Then I do family. Ellen, my neighbor, stopped by with a dish and joined me at the table. I was trying to make a list at the kitchen table of individuals to alert. She volunteered to stay the evening, but I said no. I had to spend some time alone with Lily to begin figuring out how we would handle this new horrifying reality without Kevin. The first night went on forever, Lily constantly waking up from nightmares, requesting, "Hair daddy." I stroked her as I lay next to her, hair, and sharing with her tales about Kevin, regarding his affection for her, regarding his opinion of her bravery. After a while, she collapsed into an exhausted sleep, but I stayed up and looked at ceiling, the lack of Kevin's warmth next to me, and an intolerably thing. When morning finally arrived, the devastating insight that this wasn't AI could wake up from a nightmare. Now, this was the life we led, without Kevin. A life in which my own parents didn't care enough to come when I most needed them. The funeral for Kevin was set for 4 days following his death on Saturday. Those days went by in a haze of preparations, paperwork, while attempting to console Lily while just managing to keep myself together collectively. My parents gave me a quick call once to inquire about the commencement time of the service and whether they ought to dress in black or if it was a celebration of life with vibrant clothes. They declined to assist with make plans or inquire about Lily's coping mechanisms. The funeral day began with a sunny and really gorgeous for such a gloomy occasion. Lily was adamant about wearing a blue outfit since my father used to say he appeared like a blue-clad princess. I assisted her hair, arranging it in a little braid, like Kevin used to, along her temple perform on a special times. We got to the funeral, arriving home an hour early to welcome guests. Kevin's co-workers in the finance firm arrived. Initially, solemn in their dark nesuits, many of them sobbing in public. They had lost a colleague as well as a companion. Each of them spent time with Lily, relating little anecdotes about her father that she could later cherish. My Sophia and her parents were expected to coming early as well. However, they sent 20 text minutes prior to the scheduled service stating that they were running late to start because of traffic. At last, they entered, while individuals were being seated, creating a slight disturbance as they located locations in front seat. I had set out for family. My mom gave me a quick embrace, her sent over me. The traffic was awful. As Sophia struggled to locate something suitable to wear, suck brief notice, as Thokovin's passing was inconvenient, meal gathering. During the service, I was keenly conscious of Sophia examining her phone, my dad looking at his timepiece for show, my mother dabbed at her dry eyes. In the meanwhile, Kevin's co-workers and her friends were truly inconsolable, their sorrow evident and actual. Compared with my family separation, Marcus, Kevin's brother, revealed actual destruction. He had arrived by plane from Japan, where he worked as an English teacher. Showing up a few hours prior to the service, he appeared worn out and hollowed out, obviously not getting any sleep on the 30-hour travel. He took a seat next Lily, clutching her hand throughout the ceremony. Their tears filled the similar blue eyes. When the eulogy was about to begin, I doubted my ability to do it. My legs were feeling when I walked up to the podium like lead. However, I turned to face Lily as she sat there, incredibly courageous and petite in her blue gown and zamure. I found the strength I sage regarding Kevin's integrity, friendliness, his unending devotion to his daughter. It discussed his awful jokes that caused way both laugh and moan simultaneously, regarding his unreasonable dislike of cilantro and his fervent defense of appropriate maple syrup, regarding how he always prioritize your family. The final sentence's terrible irony wasn't overlooked when I looked at my parents, who had already started to collect their things as I came to a conclusion, obviously keen Togo. At our home during the reception, he later heard my father speaking. Next to the drinks table to my Uncle James, Kevin was succeeding at the company partner track. Just the life insurance must be significant, in addition to the investments, Rachel will have everything she needs. It already did everything I could to avoid confronting him immediately, to request how he could be considering money on the day that when me husband was buried. However, I was else emotionally spent, overly preoccupied with confirming that Lily was well enough to begin a scene. Sophia and my mom hardly ever interact, assisted in the reception, leaving the majority of the work to the co-workers of Kevin, spouses, as well as my friends. They took seats in their receiving condolences in the living room as though they served as the main mourners, and I walked like a ghost through my own house, thanking everyone mechanically for coming. Taking casseroles is something I would never consume. Food, however, in the meanwhile, Kevin's parents, hardened by the passing of their sole son, were exemplary examples of sincere assistance. Histiana, Lily's mother, took over as Lily's caregiver throughout the reception, ensuring she's shielding her from well-intentioned idiot overpowering visitors. His dad, Robert, organized the cleanup in a discreet manner, afterward, remaining until the final visitor departed. The difference between Kevin's sit was harsh and hurtful for both my family and me. As I observed my in-laws encouraging one another other in their sorrow, but also discovering strength to stand by Lily and me, I felt lack of that same affection. From my like a physical injury to one's own parents, there had been talk of Kevin's will, momentarily when speaking with the director of funerals, but I couldn't stand to consider legal issues yet. Thomas Kevin's law school buddy, who having carefully managed our estate planning, recommended that we hold off for a week or two before talking on the specifics. There's no hurry. He gave me his word. Everything is in its proper place, and Lily and you are being taken care of. Kevin ensured that. As the residency at last, my parents were free of guests, and Sophia quickly apologized for traveling before nightfall. They departed with empty promises and Hugstow give you a call shortly. They made no offer to remain and assist with cleanup. Didn't inquire if Lily and I desired companionship. Failed to acknowledge that we would spend our first evening together. Following formally bidding Kevin farewell, rather, the parents of Marcus and Kevin remained. Diana prepared the visitors' room for Marcus's sofa and Kevin's parents. We will be here to help if you need us, Diana stated while embracing me in the middle of the night, firmly. Rachel, you're not alone. Keep it in mind. However, while I laid in bed that at night, taking in Lily's gentle breathing next to me, I was unable to sing that in one important aspect, I was utterly alone. The individuals who ought to have served as my primary source of assistance, my bedrock during a crisis, having demonstrated this I'm not deserving of that position. 2. A few weeks following the burial, I was seated attempting to make at the kitchen table understanding of our health insurance circumstance at the sound of the doorbell. Lily was present either first week back at school after losing her dad. The educators were maintaining keeping a careful check on her and sending me frequent updates, for which I was thankful. I observed through the peephole standing on the porch with my parents. My father is ironing his golf shirt, mother looking at her own image in her little mirror. I hadn't communicated with them since the burial. They had sent several texts, occasionally with generic statements such as "I hope you're doing well and I'm thinking of you." All right, but there hadn't been any actuality. League. The door was opened by me, not attempting to conceal my astonishment. I was unaware that you would be visiting. Went in to drop in to see how you and according to my mother, Lily is brushing. Walked past me into the home. Is she at school? Excellent. We can converse freely. It ought to have been my first indication that this wasn't just an encouraging visit, but I was else emotionally spent to recognize the warning indicators. They made their own home. As I was making coffee in the living room, assuming the role of hostess automatically, despite the fact that they ought to had been looking after me. When it read the mugs inside, my dad was examining Kevin's new sound set you installed a month before to his passing. Nice setup, he said, executing hispus the speakers around. Kevin did well. Preference for electrical devices. I agreed that he did. Still a knife in the simple past tense a twist in my heart. Following many minutes of uncomfortably abrupt conversation, on Lily's school and my father cleared my mother's garden club, his neck like he always did, prior to having a serious conversation matters. We wanted to speak with Rachel, you regarding your circumstances. He started placing his coffee mug exactly on a coaster. My circumstances? Your monetary circumstances? My mom explained, comparing looks with my dad. Note that you are getting used to living without Kevin. I gazed at them without initially understanding what they were obtaining it. What you mean is unclear to me. Kevin left us with adequate provisions. For, indeed, that's what we intended to do. Talk about it. My dad leaned over and whispered ahead. I'm getting along with your mom. Older. Our retirement savings suffered in the most recent market decline, and with good healthcare expenses as they are. For a minute, the implication lingered in the air, before my got it. Are you requesting money from me, right now? My mom was graceful enough to look a little ashamed. However, my dad continued, considering Kevin's role at the company and his personal insurance plan that you may have a position to support the family. Ultimately, we're your parents. I was struck by their request's audacity, momentarily unable to speak. My spouse remained warm in his tomb, and they had their hands out here. How much do you think? I inquired, flat voice. Apparently, my father brightened, missing my tone entirely. Well, something crossed our minds. Maybe something substantial would make sense. 50 of the payoff from life insurance would ensure our retirement and departlets for Lily and you. Half of Miss support of a bereaved daughter. To ensure your retirement. I said it again, slowly, checking to make sure I understood. You couldn't bother to daughter. Consolation after her husband's passing because they attended a birthday celebration. For my mom, squirmed, but my dad stayed not disturbed. There's no reason to be now, Rachel, emotionally invested in this. It's simply sensible financial preparation, which we died attending the funeral is very kind of you. I said, to go to my husband's funeral. I spoke in a sarcastic tone. My mother, Rachel, reared you, interjected. Your college tuition was covered by us, education. We provided assistance with the down payment for your initial home. I believe Wemrick considerable thought at this time, given that you've entered the world of money. When my husband passed away, I started yelling, the anger and hurt of the previous 2 weeks bubbling over. My lottery win was unsuccessful. I lost. My father, who was my true love, of my kid, and you're handling it as though he struck it lucky financially. Father's face dried up. There's no must be dramatic. Kevin was aware of the dangers of his heart issue. He ought to have taken self-care more effectively. And now Thade's gone. It's only sensible to talk on how his assets ought to be dispersed. Family ought to support family.at. The time, as my father jokingly held Kevin accountable for his own demise, but trying to make money off of it at the same time, something exploded within of me. The sadness that had made me numb and passive for 2 weeks abruptly turned into a razor, startling clarity. I whispered softly, get out, be reasonable, Rachel, my mother said. I yelled, get out of my house. Themi anger's physical force as Pashinji got up. You have no right to be here. How could you want Kevin's money? Blame him for passing away? He was valuable. You could not even be 100 of you. Made the effort to console your own daughter. When she broke me, parents appeared to be truly separated, startled by my shout. They had never witnessed me become really upset before, having taught me to be understanding and to stay away from dispute, in order to be the good daughter. But Sophia had to be demanding. All we're requesting is what's fair, my father stated, sternly as he stood up. Rachel, we're your parents. Wemmer admiration. You have to earn respect, said, trembling. Additionally, you've earned nothing. Now leave before Lily returns home and learns about the types of individual sure grandparents are. In fact, they departed. Irate, my mom made noises regarding me father and I being unappreciative wise that we should reevaluate our connection. I shut the door after me, them and fell to the ground, shuddering, furiously and hurt. Later that day, when it picked up Lily from school, and she appeared to more reclusive than normal, within the vehicle at last, she raised her voice. Why were you, Mommy? Today, are Grandma and Grandpa at our house? My heart sank. Have you noticed them? She gave a nod. Mrs. Wilson let me to visit their room while doing arithmetic, and I noticed their vehicle, from the window of the school. Did they bring something for us? The innocent query broke my heart. Fresh. No dear, they only came to chat.to discuss some mature topics with me. Did Yeti inquire about Daddy's finances? What? She inquired. Her perception surprised me. What do you say that? Lily peered down their palms. Grandpa told me at Thettling Uncle James at the funeral that we will receive a large sum of money because to Daddy passed away. Is that accurate? That my 8-year-old daughter had heard such a talking to you made me feel physically sick. Your father made sure we would. Lily.be looked after. Indeed. However, money don't compensate for his absence from our presence. She gave a nod. Wise. I would donate all of the funds in the world to see their father again. I agree, sweetheart. I muttered. I agree. That evening, I contacted Marcus, who had come back to Japan, but intended to return for a prolonged visit over his summer vacation to aid in our adaptation. I informed him of Miprant's demand and visit. Are you serious? He erupted. They desire Kevin's life insurance half. That's crazy, Rachel. I am aware. I'm still unable to. I think they did ask, but I'm fearful that they won't let it go. Mia. Parent might be extremely obstinate when he believes he is deserving of something. Marcus wasqued it down for a while. Kevin spoke with me regarding his budget. You understand, he was meticulous. Want to create certain that Lily would be looked after during if something went wrong, college and beyond to him. He would be incensed about your parents attempting to steal that safety away from her. Yes, I answered quietly, the well-known pain of missing Kevin growing more intense. I believe I should speak with Thomas regarding the legal circumstances in order to be ready. Marcus, that's a smart idea, I concurred. And don't let them control you, Rachel. For a while, Kevin kept you and Lily safe, 'cause Thomas and I met the following day at his workplace. He had empathy, but not shocked by my parents' actions. Regretfully, I observe this type of thing more frequently than you may imagine, he stated, examining Kevin's insurance and will records. However, I can guarantee that everything is airtight. According to Kevin, you are the only person who will benefit from his life, retirement accounts and insurance. Your parents have no legal claim at all. To anything. Could they dispute the will? I inquired anxiously, and Thomas shook his head. The will is well defined and appropriately put to death, and even if they made an effort, they had no justification. Kevin was sound. Parents don't have an automatic senate to inherit from children who are adults, particularly when a husband and child. That comfort ought to have Mate. Felt better, but as I walked out of Thomas, my phone buzzed in the office with a series of messages from my parents via text and unexpectedly, from Sophia. My father, we must talk about this, like grown-ups. Give me a call from me, brought you up better than this. Mama. Sophia prioritizes family, Rachel, although you've always been self-centered. This is slow, even for you. Your parents are worthy of better. Sophia's hypocrisy, which had hardly took her eyes off her phone. Kevin's burial, claiming that I was selfishness, was almost comical, if it weren't so excruciating. That night, while I was having supper with Lily, when I didn't answer my father's call, Hevo's email requesting a family getting together on Sunday at their home afternoon. We are all concerned about this. Bring Lily, Rachel, and arrive at 2 o'clock. I put the phone down. I'm not hungry. Lily's involvement in this unpleasant circumstance was the very last thing I desired, but perhaps it was time for everything to be released. The opportunity to take a last break I requisite. With Thomas's confirmation grungy the legal dimensions, I felt more assured of my ability to hold my ground. Grandpa, Lily pushed her and asked, around her platter of peas. Yes, he acknowledged. He would like us to visit on. Lily was silent for a while on Sunday, then inquired, are we required to leave? The reality that my daughter, who had previously shown fondness for going to see her grandparents, it appeared reluctantly, said a lot. I believe Westhold, I said cautiously. Occasionally it's critical to confront challenging circumstance. Straight. She nodded, a glancey of resolve on her face that painfully brought to mind Kevin. All well, however. Is it okay if I bring something? Possess a concept. What sort of concept? I inquired, intrigued by her unexpected ferocity. This is just a lesson from Daddy regarding defending oneself. Shine a mysterious tone. May I use the computer? Yes, after supper. I'm curious about my 8-year-old was trusting but planning whatever it was. It originated in their father's noble heart and strong moral shed aided in establishing and hereafter my parents' visit were packed with opposing feelings. Kevin's grief remained a heavy weight all the time, but suddenly it was complex by resentment and treachery toward me family. During peaceful times when Lily was sleeping, I discovered that I was going back to childhood recollections, observing them in a fresh glare of light. The dance of me parents' early departure from the recital toed in the softball games for Sophia. It's never the other way around. The Christmas I got useful clothing, while Sophia received the pricey. Both asked for art supplies for the manor. in which my academic accomplishments were anticipated, but Sophia's CG courseware praised for attempting Tobist. Little injustices that appeared to be minor separately, but created a pattern when seen as a whole. I called Amandakoven's helper, who had developed into a friend in the weeks following his passing. I questioned her, am I overreacting? After justifying my parents' request. Is itis this level of anger typical, or is it symplyrical? Is grieving making things worse? Firmly, she stated, if my parents had don't that I would consider them dead. What they did was completely improper, harsh. Her approval was helpful, as was a lengthy discussion with Marcus Thaytvening. He intended to take a vacation of leave from his profession as a teacher to come spend a few months with us, generosity that led me to tears. Kevin forced me to make a commitment, outlined years ago when you where he forced me to swear that I was expecting Lily, that if he ever suffered any harm, I would support you both. I plan to maintain that commitment. The difference between Marcus's devotion to what his brother wanted and the actions of my own parents couldn't they've been more pronounced. Lily, meanwhile, had been remarkably constant on a project she was working on, squatting over her desk in her room using paper and colored pencils. When inquired about her activities, she simply grinned covertly and uttered, something crucial on Sunday. On Saturday, I opted to examine Kevin's finances documents in greater detail, hoping to be completely informed prior to the altercation with my relatives. Kevin had been careful with our money, maintaining a home office with everything in its proper place here in Jinky Borba. I sorted through the files. I discovered a sealed envelope bearing my name on it in Kevin's handwriting. My hands shaking, upon opening it, I discovered a letter dated only 3 months prior, at the time of his final physical examination. It started, Rachel, my beloved. If you're reading this, it indicates that the physician's me heart-related worries were Moray didn't want to be more serious than Eve updated our will and don't worry about it. Insurance plans in case something goes wrong. With provisions, everything is given to you. Use it toward Lily's education and future. Well, enjoy life to the fullest. And know that my being your husband brought me the most happiness. Lily's dad. I started crying, both heartbroken that he had maintained his health issues from me, and I was really touched by his consideration and insight. Kevin had recognized the danger and had made preparations, while attempting to spare me the concern. It was so like him, both in equal measure, irritating and affectionate. The letter went on to include particular guidance for the insurance and policies, but also had a passage that piqued my interest. Pay attention, for Lily, I have created a different trust that is inaccessible till she becomes 25, aside from schooling costs. Rachel, this is crucial. I've been approached twice by your father regarding potential investments that were poorly disguised pleas for funds, refused courteously, yet he appeared to believe that my passing would result in an chance for him to obtain money through you. Keep that from happening. Parents have made bad financial decisions for years, and although I understand, the future of Lily cannot be jeopardized to rescue them. The discovery that my father had already made an attempt to obtain funds from Kevin during his lifetime, added an additional layer of trickery. Kevin had shielded me from this information, very likely attempting to maintain my connection with my parents. In spite of this, he had included misentiments first. Equipped with this novel details, I gave Thomas another call to confirm that the trust Kevin indicated was, in fact, free from any allegations, informed me that it was unbreakable and that said that I should bring a copy of Kevin's correspondence to the family gathering. It's not clarified that it was legally required, but it perhaps helpful to have Kevin's clear desires recorded if they attempt to exert emotional pressure on you. On Sunday morning, there was a feeling of imminent conflict. Lily was remarkably silent while we dressed, but had a resolute attitude toward her little holders that brought to mind Kevin before to a crucial customer meeting. Are you certain you wish to attend? I questioned her as we got ready to depart. One final time. Or perhaps you could remain with Ellen. She forcefully shook her head, saying, I must better for Daddy, Mom. While driving to me parents' place, Lily held a manila in her hand, envelope of her eyes to her chest, still refusing to provide me with specific details about within. This is a message from me, and she would only say, Daddy, as we parked in the Suburban's driveway saw the house where I had grown up, a number of vehicles that I knew belonged to me. Parents had given my aunts and uncle seemed to have invited a crowd, may believing I would have a lower chance of in front of your extended family. Turn them down. All set? I questioned Lily, placing my hand on the starting. With a serious expression, she nodded, over her ears. Mom, I'm prepared. Don concern, we made our way to the front door together. We both drew the other's strength. Prior to when the bell was rung, the door opened. Tasha, my mother, who is dressed in formal attire as Thor, face placed in a practice position for church, expression of worry. Lily, Rachel, enter. Everybody is waiting in the living room. We trailed her through the hallway leading to the spacious living room in which I had spent many childhood years, holidays and birthdays. It felt like walking into a surprise attack. My dad took a seat in his reclining chair, arranged as a judge, overseeing a court. Sophia was sitting on the sofa's arm, looking through her phone. Around Uncle James, Aunt Rita, and I were in the room. Terry, my father's brother, and his spouse Barba. Thank you for coming. My response with formality, as though this were instead of a family gathering, a business meeting. Assembling. We have significant issues to talk about. I stood, maintaining near my side is Lily. Prior to beginning, I would want to clarify that everything you must state, you can state in front of Lily. She is entitled to be aware of what's occurring inside her family. My mom scowled. Rachel, this is hardly suitable dialogue to have with a child. If hearing it is inappropriate for her, consequently, it is inappropriate for you to be querying. I gave a fair response. This issue or future as well. My dad got his throat. All right, we'll immediately go to the point. Your mom and I have been talking about the family's finances circumstance. We assisted you, as you are aware, significantly during the course of your life, from tuition for college, the down payment for your very first home. I swallowed my retort that they had spent half of that amount on my instruction, much as they did with Sophia's artwork school, but she never finished it. There was no time for old complaints. We think, he added, that considering the sizable windfall gained from the death of Kevin, it is only right that you help the family in exchange. We're suggesting a distribution that would protect our retirement and additionally offer some support for Sophia, who, as you well aware, has had financial difficulties as an artist. Sophia took a long glance up from her phone, sufficient to make me smile smugly, as though my death of the husband was some cosmic weighing the scales in our favor. I have compiled a summary of what we think about a just distribution, my dad said, handing me a paper copy. As you can see, we're proposing half of the proceeds from life insurance should be sent to your mom and I, along with an extra. Sophia was given 15%. I looked at the text that explained not just percentages, but the real amount sums. Somehow, they had found Kevin's life insurance policy's precise value epilepsy, most probably via my Uncle James, who were employed in the insurance sector. You desire 65% of the intended amount of money to ensure the future of my daughter after losing her dad? I said plainly, Kevin's earnings in particular assigned to us family members look after family. My mom stepped in. I am becoming older, as is your father. Our medical costs are rising, and you must consider the wider picture, I reiterated. The larger picture, similar to how you couldn't bring yourself to go Sophia's birthday celebration, during which my spouse passed away. That overarching image. Uncomfortable. There was stillness in the room. Rita, my aunt, she moved in her chair and looked ashamed. At least one person possessed the civility to acknowledge how improper of this was. Now Rachel, my dad stated, in a condescending manner, we've expressed regret for the unfavorable timing. However, you must realize that we had out-of-town visitors. We were unable to simply go. In fact, you could have, you choose not to. This is not, Sophia interrupted, productive. The idea is, suddenly, you're wealthy while the others were having trouble. Mom and dad made lifelong sacrifices for you, deserve to be safe in their elder age. What about the safety of Lily? Questioned, raising my voice in spite of my attempts to maintain composure. Do you believe he even perish so you may get a new trips or buy a car? That money is fourth future of his daughter. My father stood upward, his face serene. Pay attention now. We are parents. We reared you, provided for you, dressed you. You are deserving of our respect and respect. I chuckled, resentfully. You haven't showed Lily or me hint of deference or sincere care since Kevin passed away. Your only concern is what you are able to obtain from us. My mother did, in fact, object every week. Rachel, we're only concerned about you. Attempting to be sensible. Sensible would be to inquire how is your granddaughter handling the loss. Her father. Sensible would be providing to assist with cooking, cleaning, or emotional assistance. This vulture is not conduct. The place became quiet once more. Me Uncle Terry cast an uneasy glance at Theffler as Barbara, his wife, scowled at me. Father was just as horrified as I was. Suddenly, in this uncomfortable silence, Lily moved ahead while continuing to hold her envelope. I want to say something, she said, declared in a firm, unambiguous voice that shocked everybody. My mom tried a patronizing grin. The adults' sweet air discussing significant topics, correct? Lily now maintained her position, directing this as Kevin's quiet assurance, crucial as well. It concerns my father and what he would desire. Everyone's attention was drawn to her, this diminutive form standing so fearlessly in the middle of adult strife. Sophia even put her phone down. Daddy showed me that when individuals display fear they truly are, and you should think, Lily said. The only thing she said was a little shuddering. And when individuals only appear when they're in need of anything, they're not truly relatives. She looked to confront my parents head on. You didn't when Daddy passed away. You came to visit us. Didn't support Mom throughout her tears, each night. You didn't inquire as to whether I was acceptable or if I required anything. You alone arrived when you were looking for cash. The raw one. An 8-year-old spoke the truth. It seemed to land in a different manner than I had stated comparable items. My mother's meticulously calm face creased a little as my father didn't seem to know what to say. Lily, her packet was opened, and she took out a paper. I created something for you. Since I am aware that's why you actually arrived to Observesh came over and gave the paper to us. To my dad. It was a kid's illustration, however. As I caught a sight of it behind him, I saw that it was made to resemble an invoice. The first in Lily's cautious, it said in handwriting, bill for real, affection and support. The following items were listed. At the time of Daddy's death, $0 not supplied. Assisting Mom when she was depressed. O is not given. Giving me a hug while I sobbed deadly. 0 is not given. Being truthful grandparent, invaluable but unpaid. There was a 0 at the bottom, which is where you came from money, correct? This is what you deserved it. The room's quiet was still. The hands of my father shuddered. Ash grasped the document, and my mom started tokery, either out of manipulation or embarrassment. Sophia gazed at Lily, but I couldn't tell, with a startled look, as the first time encounter with her niece. I believe we're done here, I muttered, grabbing Lily's hand. Never get in touch with us again unless it's to express regret and a sincere desire to improve. Lily deserves grandparents who are better than you been, and I'm worthy of better parents. We left, leaving my family in disbelief. Behind, I experienced an odd blend of sadness and freedom. We had lost more compared to Kevin. We no longer had the appearance of an extended family that is helpful, yet in addition to the loss, there was clarity and the flexibility to start over without poisonosum. I gave Lily a hug in the car. Tight. That was really courageous. I'm really proud of you. She gave me a hug in return. Daddy constantly insisted that we get up, even when it's difficult, for what's right. Was I correct, Mom? I said, yes, darling. Tears running down my cheeks. You are entirely correct. The motivation behind Lily's parents' residence had been tense, remarkably silent next to me. That manila package firmly grasped in her tiny hands. I had been so preoccupied with getting ready for the argument with my parents which I hadn't given enough thought to what my daughter had planned. Now, as we left the house by car, I felt equal portions in the place where I grew up, admiration for her bravery and regret that must have matured quickly. Lily, how did you think up that concept for Thebel? As we drove home, I inquired, paused to look out the window before responding. My dad and I were viewing a scene in a movie where someone handed out an invoice to a cruel individual. Sometimes daddy said people must see what they're doing on paper, truly valuable. Her voice broke. Grandpa and Grandma, I believe, need proof that they haven't been valuable to use recently. Her words wisdom, reverberating. Kevin's morals made me cry again. Your father would be extremely proud, I said. Of you today, I said, extending my hand to her. To give her a handshake. IME phone started vibrating nonstop, with my family's phone calls and texts, Booty disregarded. Each of them. This was a confrontation, not a compromise, having a solid boundary determined. Any repercussions resulting from this altercation would have to wait before Lily and I had had time to understand what had occurred. Upon arriving home, Marcus Wash had come in by plane and was waiting on our porch, early from Japan, with the intention of surprising. Angel had handed him the spare from us, key to enter and wait. Seeing him a lot like Kevin, his smile and mannerisms were both reassuring and painful. How did it go? He asked, embracing us both. Aunt Lily was incredible, Lily exclaimed before Toy could respond. She confronted Grandpa and helped him realize how cruel he was about Daddy's funds. Marcus brought up Aunt me with an eyebrow. Aunt Lily? I grinned. In spite of everything, it seems that I've been elevated to Aunt Lily from Mom for points for boldness. During supper, we shared Marcus. All that had occurred. Athos look at my parents' residence amid when I talked about my dad's distribution strategy, but he entered when Lily described her. She smiled proudly, billing concept. That's just like Kevin. He ruffled Lily's hair and murmured, there, ingenious problem solving with only the appropriate amount of well-earned shama journey. That evening, following Lily's visit to Marcus and I sat in the kitchen before going to bed, sipping tea and discussing what comes ahead. They'll try again, he cautioned. Me. Your parents and others don't give you when money is involved. I get up easy, nodded. Recalling my father's obstinate perseverance during my early years, I understand, but I refuse to give in. Not only because it is incorrect, but because it will violate Kevin's expressed desires. Have you considered the implications of this? For the continuation of your relationship with the Marcus said softly. Forward, it was I had been dodging the question since the conflict. I'm not sure, I said. I feel like cutting them off, fully. They have demonstrated their genuine errors so vividly, but an additional aspect Ophi question whether that is fair to Lily, her only grandparents on my side. Our side. Our unsatisfactory grandparents. Superior Toyn response, Marcus said, no grandparents? Lily is loved by Kevin's parents, and they truly come to her aid. Quality was right, it was over quantity. Robert and Diana had contacted Lily each sent care the day after Kevin's passing parcels, and were preparing a lengthy visit. They were also in mourning. However, they prioritized the needs of their grandchild. On my phone the following morning, there were 8 me mother's missed calls, 3 from me dad, as well as 1 from Sophia. Several texts were also mails that ranged from irate chargesto heartfelt regrets that seemed more like a manipulation as opposed to sincere regret. Choose to reply to a single message from my mother. We must discuss what transpired. My response was straightforward. Nothing can be discussed until you are able to accept the damage you've inflicted and demonstrate genuine transformation. Lily and I must space and time. After that I blocked their numbers, a stopgap fix to provide us with breath and grom. I also sent Thomas an email to let him know, informed him of what had happened and inquired must keep an eye out for any legal actions me parents could try. But he had told me they had no justification for any assertions. In the days that followed, migrants experimented with different methods to story communication. They sent flowers, with cards of apology that made ambiguous references to family miscommunication. They tried to contact me via friends we have in common. My father even visited my place of employment, just to have security turn you away when he declined to visit him. To my surprise, it was Uncle Terry's Aunt Barbara, wife, who offered a surprising source of assistance. She made a call from her own phone that I hadn't blocked, inquiring as to could grab coffee. I'm hesitant, Booty consented, interested, and I want you to know, not at all. Every member of the family backs the actions of Brad and Carol. Shine informed me at our meeting, referring to Midori and I were appalled parents, attended that conference solely because they informed us that it had to do with organizing a memorial funding in Kevin's honor. Her integrity was revitalizing, and it was beneficial to note that my extended family wasn't all participating in my parents' plan. They've consistently given preference to Sophia. Barbara went on to confirm what I had sensed, but questioned for we've all witnessed it for years. But Nabodai desert Toyner seed, perhaps we ought to have. A week following the altercation, a formal Letter came from my dad and was scribbled on his Hispacina stationery as though to add supper according to what he said. Unless I was prepared to reach a reasonable agreement with them, they would have to reevaluate our relationship with Lily and you in general. It was intended to be menacing. I suppose that this notion of cutting us off. Rather, it felt like consent. To proceed without the weight of poisonous connectist. I submitted the letter to Thomas in the event that it was required as proof of their plans. 2 weeks following our conflict, my mom tried a novel strategy, arriving at Lily's school at pickup time. Luckily, I had previously told the school about the circumstances, and they gave me a call right away. When I got there, the principal had strongly, but courteously requested that my mother depart, letting her know that on people with permission could communicate testing in the school with students in the parking lot. My mom appeared tiny. In a way, not as intimidating as she had during my early years. Your turning all of them are against us, she said when no, she said, noticing me. Your own behavior acting in that manner, I said calmly. Please don't return to Lily's school. In order to mend a relationship, it must begin with respect for us your parents for our limits, she objected, tears welling up in her eyes. You can't simply ignore us. Life, I'm not abandoning you, Butte explained. Please take a step back and reevaluate your desire to participate of our existence. Would you like to be Lily's kind and supportive grandparents, without conditions, or those who witnessed her father's passing as a monetary opportunity? You have a choice. Either way, there are repercussions. Had no response to that, and Wes split up with Utra solution. The final directee spoke with both of my parents for almost 2 months. At the time, I concentrated on Lily, on beginning to construct our new pickle in Kevin's absence, but with the assistance from individuals who genuinely cared for us. For 3 months, Marcus lived with us. His presence serves as a constant reminder of Kevin. In the most effective manner. He instructed Lily. To engage in chess play, which Kevin intended to accomplish. He assisted me in sorting through Kevin's possessions when I eventually read, exchanging tales and recollections that made the agonizing chore more tolerable. Kevin's parents came to visit for long stretches of time, supplying our house with warmth and sincere affection. Diana instructedly will prepare Kevin's preferred cookies, preserving her relationship with her father shared actions. She went fishing with Robert, gently demonstrating to her how to fasten thick knots that he had taught Kevin for decades earlier. In the meantime, my parents' news behavior that permeated the family grapevine. Aunt Rita apologized over the phone for attending the by-ambush, describing how she had been informed that it was assembling to talk about helping us. Uncle James, who at first appeared to supported my father and sent a card, he apologized for not speaking up throughout the altercation. Sophia herself ultimately wrote an email stating that although having a complete apology, agreed that the timing of their requests for money had been rude, though it wasn't much. It was the initial period of our adult lives during which she acknowledged any misconduct. 3 months following Kevin's death, on the 13th day of the month wedding anniversary, I was given a third letter from my parents. This one and to read a simple envelope, written by hand instead afterward. It was typed on official letterhead. It was their initial message. That seemed possibly real. To my dear, it started with Lily and Rachel. We have spent over past few weeks considering our conduct and the suffering we've given you within an already intolerable period of loss. No justifications exist for what wedded. We permitted self-interest and avarice. To disregard our duty and affectionate grandparents and parents. We were unsuccessful. Kevin's memory was ruined by you two and us. The letter went on to include particular recognition of their behavior from not attending the funeral for the attempted financial gain without the ambiguous wording of their earlier regrets. They didn't request pardon or for communication to be resumed, merely conveyed the desire that we may eventually have the chance to demonstrate with deeds rather than words. It is something we can alter. I went over the letter multiple times, attempting to determine its genuineness. I then showed Marcus, prior to choosing who to share it with Lily. It appears to be distinct from their additional efforts. He watched warily, more responsible and less manipulative. Although in the end, you decide whether to have faith. I concealed the letter. I am not yet prepared to decide on whether or how to react. The injury was still too recent, and the treachery as well deep. Time would tell if there was the regret sincere, or was it simply another plan. Lily and I were For the time being concentrating on recovery, on strengthening our living with Kevin's principles but without him, with love as our cornerstone. Whatever would have happened to my parents would be based on their behavior, moving forward, not via assurances or regrets, but well made. Marcus was getting ready to go back to Japan with intentions to visit shortly. He assisted me in setting up a memorial service at Kevin's birthday. In contrast to the funeral, which had stiff and solemn, this was Kevin's life was celebrated in his favorite barbecue food in the backyard as well as music. Colleagues and friends shared humorous tales involving Kevin. His parents' brute picture albums of his early years. Lily displayed a book of memories she owned, produced with notes, ticket stubs, and mementos of her activity dusted. My parents were conspicuously absent, along with Sophia, who was not invited. It was a line I had to stay within for today, establishing a secure environment for mourning and remembering without the stress all presence would bring. As the assembly wound down and visitors started to depart, I felt Lily pull at my sleeve. "Can we, Mom? Next time, invite Grandma and Grandpa," quietly she asked. "Which grandparents, darling?" Even though I knew who she was, I asked it intended. "Mom's folks," she explained. "Those who made financial requests. Daddy, I believe would rather that we provide them another possibility that their actually apologize." Her empathy is similar to Kevin's, made me cry. "Let's see," he assured her. "If they prove to us that they've truly altered, perhaps next time." It wasn't precisely forgiveness. Not yet. However, it was a gap, a potentiality, that the future could incorporate some kind of reconciliation. For the time being, that was sufficient. The confrontation with the enveloping stood at a watershed in our lives. And immediately following, the split in me entire family was stern and unpleasant. Some family members took a strong stand, with my folks considering me the unappreciative daughter who declined to assist family. Others acknowledged the unsuitable character of my parents' requests and provided silency assistance. Barbara, my aunt, became an unexpected ally, frequently phoning talking in with me and Lily, and sometimes hearing family news with it judgment or coercion. Uncle Terry, albeit less flamboyant, displayed his assistance by sending books to Lily and scientific kits, keeping in mind her passions like my parents hardly ever had. The majority of me cousins' unexpected responses. Sophia's daughter Jennifer was in her early 20s. She contacted me by email, around 1 month following the conflict. "I've always observed how Grandma and Grandpa's treatment of you remind me of Mom," she wrote. What they did following Kevin's death wasn't acceptable. Additionally, "I want you to be aware of not every member of the family believes that you're incorrect for refusing to back down." Her message had deeper meaning than she realized. Confirmation from a surprising source that I wasn't selfish or insane for safeguarding Lily's prospects. My parents' first response to being disconnected was a manipulative campaign. They recruited relatives to present their arguments, send emails that make you feel guilty, and even sought to utilize Lily's school as a site of interaction. When these initiatives failed, they changed their strategy to more direct threats, implying that they called competition. The will, even though it has no legal justification for doing so. Kevin's Thomas lawyer friend answered the threats with a legally strong wording letter demonstrating the irrationality of any possible allegations as well as the possibility of harassment. Then, although the direct pressure decreased, the emotional consequence went on. During this challengement, I was taken aback by the sheer number of people came up to lend us their support. Kevin's co-workers founded a university. Money for Lily that is distinct from what Kevin had already organized. Ellen, my neighbor, is a ready redshire, assisted Lily with her assignments when grief made it hard to focus. Evan's architecture firm where I work as my boss and office manager. I demonstrate technextic kindness, which enabled me to horrors that are flexible to attend. Sorrow therapy with Lily. 6 months following Kevin's passing, Marcus came back for another longo. There, news this time. "I'm moving here to attend the university," had declared one evening at dinner. "I've been given a job offer and the next up is the linguistics department. Semester. You'll be returning to the States?" I inquired, astonished. Marcus had resided in Japan for about 18 years. He looked at Lily and nodded, was almost jumping with enthusiasm. "I promised Kevin that I would be there for both of you. It's simpler to maintain that guarantee if I'm in the same nation, the same city ideally. The choice to change how we live without Kevin. It wasn't easy. but having Marcus close by made things simpler. He made no attempt to substitute his sibling, but he continued totally keeps Kevin's memories alive in innumerable little ways. From the samey peculiar sense of humor to share behaviors that occasionally surprised Megard. 4 months before Lily's 9th birthday following the altercation with my parents, they wrote me another letter. This one included a small present for Lily. An astronomy book that genuinely matched her interests, implying a degree of awareness that has been absent from earlier pink gifts princess objects that she had never been fond of. The letter recognized the pain they had incurred and requested no payment or even pardon, but only for the chance to celebrate Lily's birthday with her, even if it's only for 15 minutes in public location of your choosing with you in attendance the whole time. After talking about it with Lily, who was warily receptive to the concept, I set up a quick meeting, visited her preferred ice cream parlor. I set definite limits in my answer. This one to return to regular relationships, but a cautious beginning that would be totally dependent on their actions. Although the encounter was uncomfortable, remarkably drama-free, my parents appeared very repentant, concentrating solely on Lily, making the proper inquiries regarding her interest in school with mentioning finances, the previous dispute or putting out demands. They possessed evidently practiced their strategy, but his own work demonstrated a readiness to adapt that I had not anticipated. As we were heading out, my dad whispered, "Is there anything we could do? This once more? Perhaps next month." The deficiency of entitlement in his request, the comprehension that access it was an honor for his granddaughter Tobe merited as opposed to a right, demanded that caused me to think about it. Well look, what I said was, "I'll let you know." That hesitant start resulted in carefully planned, sporadic visits throughout the upcoming months. My parents stayed, in a sense, on probation, but they always showed respect for thy set boundaries. They never brought up money once more, but never attempted to serve Lily without my consent, and progressively illustrated via actions instead of language they might understand the harm they had caused. 1 year later, in honor of Kevin's passing, we had a tribute service on the anniversary. In contrast to the altercation several months prior, I made the decision to invite my parents, emphasizing that this was a crucial examination of their dedication to restoring our connection. I was relieved when they arrived, suitably depressing and encouraging, bringing an album of Kevin's photos at family events that I hadn't even attended. They remained out of the spotlight, not focusing the entire day on them or their relationship with me, but just paying tribute to Kevin's memories in tandem with all the others who had cherished him. Following me, mother came up to me during the service, with caution. "A family has been visiting us. I am a therapist," she admitted, attempting to recognize the mistakes we made, not soon after Kevin's passing, but all the way through our life. It has been enlightening, was not a sudden change, and there were still uncomfortable situations and outdated patterns that surfaced occasionally. However, the effort was steady, and eventually a new relationship started to develop, one founded on respect for one another instead of duty or anticipation. Sophia took longer to arrive. Her first response to being denied entry to Kevin's money was bitterness and rage, appearing in offensive posts on social media and makes an effort to convert family members against me. However, as our parents progressively changed their conduct, her stance becoming more and more not acceptable. Finally, after a year of little communication, she contacted with sincere regret. "I have always been envious of you." During a heated coffee date, she confessed meeting. "You were consistently the more intelligent one, the accountable one. When Kevin passed away and left you with financial stability, it simply magnified all of my insecurity shad. It doesn't justify my actions, but too would like you to know that I am working on it," was arguably the most candid discussion. When we were sisters, it did need to build our friendship right away, but it made room for the potential of a better relationship in the future. As for me and Lily, the trip through grief was continuous yet changing. Acute, ongoing pain from an early loss slowly changed into something easier to handle, a melancholy that might coexist with happy and hopeful ones. There were still evenings when Lily sobbed for her father, but there were also days when she with amusement and a typical 9-year-old worries. With Thomas's assistance, I set up a foundation under Kevin's name that offered financial instruction to underprivileged areas, something I had a strong interest in running. The foundation offered me more than just a purpose, getting by on a daily basis in connecting with those who held the same principles as Kevin. On Kevin's second anniversary death, I led Lily to his preferred location. We watched from a bench beside the lake, the water in his memory together. Lily said, "Mom, carefully. I believe the envelope it provided assistance to Grandpa and Grandma." I asked, "What makes you say that?" Now, however, they are different. They pay attention more. They inquire about my emotions, recall my favorite books. She kept it across the surface of the stone, water, as Kevin had instructed her. Daddy used to say, there are times when people must have a clear view of themselves before they can alter. Your father was rather wise, I concurred once again. In awe of my daughter's outlook and fortitude. I bet I still miss him every day, she remarked. I believe he would be pleased with how where do you not? I wrapped my arm around the extraordinary child who Karaides darling. She has a lot of her father's traits. I believe he would be really proud of both of us. In actuality, losing Kevin had exposed who was actually in our lives family and those who weren't. Relationships had been irreversible, but others had been more deeply in unexpected ways. New relationships had developed, establishing a network of support based on sincere concern as opposed to oddity. Now, my folks were wary individuals in your lives, striving to regain confidence, one polite exchange at a time. Marcus was now a dependable, affectionate Texan, an uncle who assumed his indeed. Kevin's parents stayed loyal grandparents. Their affection for Lily is a clear manifestation of their affection. In honor of their son, Lily and I each had other, united not only by sorrow, but also by our common experience of advocating for ourselves and learning about our own process strength. The inheritance that my parents had so desperately desired, aside from living costs and the funds for Lily's schooling, Kevin's security was invaluable. However, his genuine legacy lay in the principles he gave us, the bravery that he motivated, and the affection that persisted in direct our decisions. On our way back from the lake, Lily put her hand in that day's mining. I believe the most effective method to recall Daddy should be gentle but firm, just like Hugh is, she stated, to assist individuals but not allow them to exploit you. That's precisely correct, I concurred. We commemorate her by squeezing her hand, him daily. The grieving process for me is not linear, and recovery does not imply forgetting. On some days, although Kevin's absence feels like a physical injury, as I grab him in me sleep or begin speaking with him before realizing he isn't present. However, lives are no longer defined by those moments. Rather, we've discovered how to transport this with us while we make decisions, the limits we uphold, and the affection we keep sharing. The family that don't come out of our loss as the one he anticipated, but it's based on a basis of sincere concern and deference, more resilient as a result of testing. If you have ever had family betrayal while grieving or having to get up for oneself, in opposition to those who ought to have stood with you, and I hope our tale serves as a reminder that you are not alone. The hardest limits can occasionally build relationships with the folks we've been instructed throughout our lives to accommodate. However, safeguarding yourself and those that rely on you are not self-centered. It's essential. Kindly provide your remarks about your experiences if you feel cozy. Please subscribe and like this content, struck a chord with you, and keep in mind that family is characterized by respect and love, not only blood. We appreciate you listening to our story, and I hope you have the fortitude to uphold your own value in all of your connections.